Hello, my name is Danielle Heuer. Thank you for joining my presentation on harnessing AI to transform the student experience. As educators, we do have the responsibility to deliver these encouraging, supportive, engaging, motivating, even transformative student experiences. And there's a lot of behind the scenes tasks and responsibilities that we're all doing to make sure that we can achieve that. What if I were to tell you that using a little bit of AI might help you achieve that goal a little bit more efficiently and maybe even a little bit more effectively? Would you be interested? Well, I know I certainly would be. So when the Rutgers Online Conference submission request came in, this was a question I had. I've started using AI in my personal job, but I haven't really used it as much to harness AI for students. And then I thought back to my most recent class where I did start to use it a little bit. And this became a subject that I wanted to explore. So let's explore it together. I am an adjunct faculty member in the Continuing and Professional Studies department. I deliver 2 classes online, business communications, oh no, that's business writing, and interpersonal communication skills. And like all of you, I've seen an uptick in the number of questions and the discussions that we're having in the class around AI. Students want to know, what do they need to know about it in their roles? Should they be adopting it? How can it help them? And I think we need to be role models for this, role models for adopting to change or adapting to change, but also role models for being open to what might be available. And today, that's what I want to discuss with you. Not all levels of AI adoption are the same. So if you were an early adopter and you were very well versed, you know that AI can enhance the learning experience as well as many other experiences. But if you're a late adopter, you haven't yet dipped your toe into using some of these tools that are available to us, this could be a question that we're not sure if we can answer. What can it do to enhance the learning experience? Before I analyzed this question myself, I didn't even realize that I was doing some of these things. I had pulled them over from some of my corporate job tasks that I was using AI for, and I realized, oh my goodness, these are really helping me. And I hadn't really made that connection. And I want to share those with you today. I'll also share as an aside that this image that you're seeing here was created in, I think it was ChatGPT, not Copilot, just to show you that you can even create images. And it took me a little back and forth to explain what the class was like and what I was trying to deliver, but it didn't do a bad job. Just as an aside, so you can see the full breadth of what we can get from our AI assistant. For today to be successful, we can't possibly expect that we're going to know everything. I have about 35, 40 minutes with you. But what I want to have us understand are some of the options that we might have available to enhance the learning experience right at our fingertips. I want to also understand and identify what is available to us right now, and then maybe see what we can develop as our own personal strategies that we can take with us and maybe challenge ourselves to do as we enter into some of the next couple of weeks, or maybe your next class that you're teaching. And really exploring and being open to, by the time this session ends, what else might I be able to do that can result in a better learning experience? I have yet to meet a person who is going to say no to time savings. And there was a McKinsey study that I referenced in one of my corporate trainings for a sales team who was getting comfortable using AI for some sales enablement processes. And they immediately reported back to me that they were seeing time savings. Now, McKinsey was reporting that in the sales enablement world, you could save 20 to 40% of your time. And this team was really eager to see that. And as I said, who wouldn't be eager to see a time savings? If we transfer this to an educator role, I opened up saying that we have a responsibility to deliver amazing learning experiences. Well, they take time. So if you could cut some time on some of those exercises, activities, preparing, the process and operational stuff that you need to do to deliver on that goal, I want you to think about what you could do with that extra time. Why should the sales enablement and corporate world have all of the time savings? I say, why not all of us? If we adopt some AI assistance, could we also save some time? And my question for you right now is think about what you might focus on. If you could get help with some of those tasks, would you maybe work on more student engagement? That might be helpful for your type of classroom. Customizing the content, maybe your classroom demographic changes every time and it's hard to keep up with it. Maybe you have some one-off students that you know need some more personalized exercises because they work in an environment or a role that requires something different. Sometimes it's the motivating feedback. It's so hard sometimes, especially with bigger classrooms, to feel like your feedback is being very motivating and personalized. Could you use an AI assistant to help you with that? What else are you thinking about right now? Where could you take that extra time that you're saving and invest it into the experience? Where could you use some help? So you're going to be thinking about those options. For the rest of our time together in this presentation, while you're thinking about what you would do with that extra time, we're going to be looking at this 3-letter acronym AIM, and we're going to work through it together. First, we'll take a look at how we can adapt and what are the things we need to think about as we adapt to an environment that incorporates some AI technology when this might not be something we've been using in the past or maybe not in this way. Then we're going to look at the I in AIM. We need to identify what works for us and then how can we integrate it into what we're already doing. Ultimately, we'll wrap up at the end with a short conversation around ensuring that the work that we're putting in, the assistance that we're getting from the AI partner we're using, is motivating the outcome that we're seeking and that we are thinking about measuring it. At this point, we may not have real hard qualitative measurements in place, but maybe we could find other ways to see if we're moving the needle the way we want to. We don't have to look hard to see headlines about AI, even in the education sector. So schools like Rutgers, as well as many, many other educational organizations out there, are adopting AI for a lot of their departments, maybe research tools and processes, maybe some of the systems that they use. I see business schools using it in the accounting field to help teach students. I see it being used for case studies and role plays. It's out there and it's happening. What's more difficult isn't these system upgrades incorporating AI. It's more the everyday choices that we get to make about the AI we have at our fingertips. That seems to be harder. So here's an example. Let's say you go into Canvas one day, your learning management tool that you use in your classroom, and suddenly you have a tool, a button you can click on that will summarize a discussion thread for the week and tell you what was the most poignant, compelling conversation that got the most reactions from classmates, that had the longest conversation, what were the 3 most common threads, the threads that seemed to boil to the surface most, what conversation was the quietest. If you got back a summary letting you know information like that, just like that, you could send at end of a week wrap up, teasing out things where you wanted people to not miss something that didn't get as much love in the classroom, or to take a topic that was really popular and give some more resources on it, to have a fuller conversation, maybe to take that topic and put it into the next week because it needs even a little bit more attention. Who wouldn't love that? And we would use that without even blinking. But when we're told that we can go use a tool that helps us write better feedback, that we can seek out on our own, that seems a little bit more uncomfortable for us, and that's something we need to investigate. If you have some AI tools available at your fingertips and you're not quite using them, here's a question I often ask my corporate clients. I ask them, without the tool already right now, do you feel like you're doing the best job that you can do? Is there any room? Is there any place that you'd like to do better that maybe this tool could help with and we don't know unless we try? Well, similarly, in the education sector, if we investigate what it is that students are looking for, we find that students are looking for things like relevance. So this is according to Matt Gandel. He's the founder, president, and CEO of Education Strategy Group. and he is a contributor at Forbes, but I have seen relevance be a repeating theme. Students want to make sure that what they're learning makes sense to the world they're in. Do I really need it right now? Especially our continuing education students. Their time is short. They are under a lot of time constraints. So they want to make sure that what they're learning is giving them confidence in the choices they have to make in the real world. If AI can help us do that as educators, we can help reduce some of the stress that students feel. We can help them get to those decisions a little bit more quickly, and we can build some confidence. Right now, you're asking yourself, am I ready to adapt? Am I ready to do something I haven't been doing in the past? Or maybe I've dipped my toe in it and I am charging ahead, full steam ahead. I'm so curious. Well, to help you feel a little bit more comfortable, let's look at our formula for adapting. All of us are coming into a situation with our background and our skills that we bring from years and years of experience. And if we decide that we're going to maybe potentially add in some of this AI assistance that we see here, and we think, I'm going to add it in, I'm feeling ready to do this. I'm going to take all of that, what I've come all the years up until this point, plus the help I'm going to get from my AI assistant that I decide to use. I'm going to take that and it's going to immediately add to the passion and curiosity. It's going to multiply the passion and curiosity when I start to see what I can do with it, which is going to help us because this is going to immediately help us divide out some of the discomfort and fear that we might have. And if it's not fear, it might just be discomfort. It might just be uncertainty. Maybe it's hesitation. Now you'll notice I did add a +1 over here. This is for anyone that has 0 hesitation and fear. So they're thinking, I'm perfectly fine. I don't have hesitation and fear. So I added a +1 so that the math wouldn't be too wonky. We're going to take this feeling that you now have, and we're going to immediately add to it. Yes, you see it right here. Responsibility and critical thinking. So here's the thing. With AI, like so many other tools that we have available to us, we do have to use it responsibly, and we do have to exercise some critical thinking. AI is no different. You're going to be getting lots of information at your fingertips. You're going to have the opportunity to do lots of different things with it, and you have to decide what makes sense according to your guidelines and the policies you have to follow, and also for your own personal guidelines and how you'd like to use the tool for you. Ultimately, though, do I think we can get to this place of enhanced student experience? Absolutely. Absolutely. You might need to work through the formula a couple times to feel comfortable, but trust me, you can get there. I work with so many corporate clients that have never touched a AI tool before individually, and they have really moved to a place where their minds have been blown. Now that that formula has given you comfort that you're going to be just fine in your adapting, regardless of where you've dipped your toe into the AI water, we now need to look at the I in AIM. So we want to identify a couple real life places where you might be able to see a difference. What could you do today? What could you do tomorrow? Now to do this, we're going to look at some of the bigger picture options, and we're going to drill really, really down and get super specific to one AI tool. It'll make sense in a moment. Of course, we know we do have to start with what our school says we're allowed to use, what our organization supports. So we're definitely going to do that first and find out what's available to us. Now, this exercise, after the Rutgers online conference accepted my submission, has been mind-blowing for me because I had never done this research before. So I went to all of my Rutgers resources and found out I knew the regular policy about what we were supposed to do in class and what we were supposed to recommend to students and that we could use Copilot. I knew that, but I didn't know any more. And so I started really drilling down on what, as a university, was available to me and what is supported and what are some of the other cool things other departments are doing. It was really a great experience. I highly recommend that you do that on your end. If you decide you want to start using some tools that are available to you and supported, but you don't know anything about them, no worries. There's so many ways you can learn about it. LinkedIn Learning, if you have access to it, great resource. YouTube videos. I've picked up a lot of great tips right from YouTube. There's books, there's resources, there's so many ways to get to your researching. Yes, you're investing some time, but it is totally going to be worth it. And why not ask a colleague? Ask a colleague who's already been an early adopter and has been using it and is feeling super savvy in it. And then if you have an AI task force that you can join at work, your mind will be double blown when you see all the other possibilities that are out there from an organizational perspective and the different things that the company is thinking about doing or your organization is thinking about doing. Now, over to the right in the box, what you will see here are some of the things that are pretty typical that our organizations are approving us to use. You'll have to check with yours, but these seem to be pretty common across even some of my corporate and educational clients as well. So lots of different things here. Some of them are going to look very familiar, some of them not so much. With Zoom, Grammarly, we're probably very familiar with. I go from the bottom up. Zoom AI, it's a meeting assistant that will summarize your meetings and transcribe your notes and look for themes, all that type of stuff. Adobe, we're very familiar with. We've heard about Adobe. We know about it. But Firefly is an AI component built in that lets you do even more cool things in Adobe. And then the top three, let's look at those. These top three are where we're putting our focus. These are the chatbots. These are the places that you probably have some company support for, whether it's an internal ChatGPT, Copilot, or Google Gemini. You might have another one that's not listed here, but these are the conversational language tools where you get to inquire or request information in a certain format, and it gives you back an answer that you then get to dialogue with the tool with. So if you think about back to when you tried to get customer service from a company and you get a chatbot and you can dialogue back and forth with them. Very similar idea, but you get to put in what you want and get back what you want and not just centered around that company's set responses for you. This is where I want us to spend some time today. I picked the chatbots because they're going to be where we can see an immediate value in our roles. Right now, I want to ask you, think about in your role, can you identify where you could use help? And maybe you never thought about getting help from AI, but that's okay. What are the areas that you think, oh, I spend time doing this. I wonder if I could do this more efficiently, more quickly, with more effective results. For me, if you look at the top one in the upper left, this is one I do every single time I teach, right? I look at my content. I teach 2 or 3 times a year, and a couple span of months, I teach again. So I'll look at my content and say, what's different from the last class to this class? Any updates? If it's been a year since I've used some resources, I check and see, can I update the resources? I want to make sure my class is always relevant. Could I do this more quickly? Could I add in quizzes that are more aligned with the skill level I'm seeing in this class? I might have developed a quiz, and now all of a sudden I'm noticing that quiz worked great until the class I'm in right now, where my students seem to be at another level. Can I adapt this quickly? Can I write more motivating feedback? Whatever it might be for you. The options are really endless. Everything from updating to customizing to engagement to those class emails that you might send out to the whole class or maybe individually to students, to brainstorming, to researching, summarizing, even creating images that you might use in slides, creative exercises, whatever it might be. The options are endless. As you're listening to me go through my next couple of slides, I want you to think about, where could I use this with my content and what I do in my role? It might not be identical to the examples that I'm showing you. I'm going to show you a couple of them, but it might trigger a connection to something that you might see on this slide here. This is our first of several examples, and most of these are my real examples. These are things that I do, that I have done, that I wanted to share with you. The text is a little smaller, so on go the glasses. Okay, so let's see here. In this particular one, I'm using Copilot to check my content, like I said on that last slide. I want to make sure that my content's relevant. So what do? I go into Copilot. I take my question at the top. Help me ensure that this year's business writing asynchronous learning for continued education students is still relevant. I give it information. If I ask a very broad general question, I can't control the response as much. Then I ask it to tell me, am I missing anything? What could be outdated? And then I provide it with the content I'm using. So here's my course description overview and my module objectives for my 4 weeks. Tell me what I might be missing. So the first thing that I want you to look at on here, and I want to really pull out, is you'll notice that in my prompt at the top, I have to really figure out, what role do I want my AI to play? Right now I'm saying, obviously you're teaching a class in this environment to these students with this ask. Then I tell it to give me back something that could be useful. And I try to be specific. What do I want back from you? I'm asking for suggestions or ideas. This is a bit of a brainstorm. So there's a task here that I want the AI tool to follow for me. At the top in that box is my prompt. Underneath it is my example. As you are developing your questions, think about all the information you could feed the tool to get back a better response. And like humans, sometimes your first ask doesn't give you the best answer. So make sure that you have a follow-up. I very rarely ask it one question, and I'll show you some examples of this in just a little bit. But first, I'm sure you're curious about what the tool gave me back, and that's what you see on this slide. It gave me back 6 areas for me to pay attention to. And you'll see in red is where I decided to put my focus. In the boxes, you see the areas where I went, oh, could be valuable. Maybe I'm not doing that. Maybe I'm not as familiar with that. The check marks are where I got to test myself against what the AI found and say, okay, still relevant, I'm doing that, still relevant, I'm doing that, still relevant, I'm doing that. And gives me a comfort level that I'm on the target, the right target. Let me now show you another example. If you're like me, you like to update your reading lists, your assignment lists. If there's any pre-reads or videos that you have your students do, I always want to make sure they're current. And if they're not current, I want to tell them why I included something from 10 years ago. I want them to feel, because today's audiences they have information at their fingertips. So they do want to know why something is being sourced for them. So I go in and I put this prompt. This is real. I actually have really done this. And I will ask, this I did in ChatGPT, I'll ask the tool, generate a list of 5 to 10 current from 2025 articles on improving interpersonal communication skills or the value of proficient interpersonal skills in the workplace. This list should be suitable for this type of a student in this type of environment. I give them all of the prompting information that will give me back a better response. And I get back 7 amazing articles, 7 great articles. Now, just to test it, I should have included this in here. I did a Google search and I didn't even get any of these articles. I think I got 1 of them. So you're always going to get, and I had to keep opening them and looking and opening them and looking. I wanted to make sure that none of these articles required a subscription and that they were from reputable sources. Do I need to check this before I go and post this list? Absolutely. Always be checking. But the list is done for me in seconds. Some of you are thinking, ooh, I do the same thing. This could be helpful. I could see the head nodding going on right now in my head, the imaginary head nodding. Let's look at another example. You may have found yourself in a situation where you get a student in your class that has a background that you're not as familiar with or that you don't see as frequently. And this happened to me one of the first times that I had someone in my class that had a very strong, very long military background, a career in the military. And I've definitely had people in the military in my classes, but this particular student had really built a career in the military. And their writing experience and background was all based on military theory of writing. And I tried to give feedback and I tried to make it relevant. I wanted the experience in my class to be valuable and not a box checked. So after trying a couple things and giving some feedback and trying to encourage to try some things a different way or to try to understand why they might write something in a way that I didn't recommend, I finally went to ChatGPT and I asked the question, what are some things I need to be thinking about? Or what else can I do? So at the top here, you'll see I have the characteristics of military writing shown to me at the top here. This is not something that I technically needed. I knew this already, but it was a good check to make sure I knew the right things were aligning. But then down here, I did get a series of strategies that were very helpful, and I did actually use 2 of the strategies to help motivate the student. And one was to ask the student specifically, how is the content working for the role that you're in? Where are you seeing some gaps? Really just head on asking, and then complimenting the student on where the military background has built a lot of strengths, which I was doing already, but instead of stopping there, asking how what else could be helpful? What other situations does this person find himself in? And we're on week 2 or 3 at this point, and I don't have that much time with the student. And I got back some really nice ideas where I was able to bridge with the student and help the student get more out of the experience and use the other students in the class more. So it was helpful for me. It gave me some ideas, great for brainstorming, really leveraging AI as a way to create more opportunities for connection. In addition to connections, we're often creating assignments and exercises, and sometimes they don't land on every class the same way. So I come to a point with one of my most recent classes where I have an engagement that I'm doing with them, and I immediately know it's not at the right level. They came in at a higher level. They were a bit more advanced than my previous classes. And I didn't want the assignment that's already in the online system to fall flat on them. And I wouldn't have known this till a couple of weeks in, so I wouldn't have been able to adjust it before they got to class. But now that I do know it, I want to quickly make an adjustment to this assignment. So I go into Copilot. And you'll notice here, this was not my very first prompt. This is my third or fourth prompt. I put my assessment that I had them doing into my Copilot, and I said, I'm working with a more advanced group. They seem to be very comfortable with these skills, but how do I take this is what a lot of what they're learning and up level it for them? And I got back, the first thing was useless. It was the same exact thing I provided in a different format. It didn't really work. So then I had a second prompt. And then I got back something a little bit better, but I still felt that they needed something a little bit more. Then I got to the third one. This is not exactly what I did with them, but I like the fact that they now gave me more scenario based versus question answer based. So I ended up using some of what was in here to build a different quiz or assessment that I could use with the group that I felt was more aligned with them. Now, could I have gotten here without using Chat GPT or Copilot? Yeah, I'm sure I could have, but it might have taken me more time, or I might have ran with my first idea. Sometimes I know that's not what I want, but I don't know what I want, but I know that's not what I want. So the back and forth conversation with Copilot helped me get there. So some of the things that I do, I always challenge my chatbot. I always say, what else can you provide? Do you have an alternative? What if I was to ask for it this way? What do you think it's missing? For this audience, would you do something different? I have a conversation with it. And it's those later back and forths where I feel like I go, oh, that was good. That's what I needed. So this next example is calling on you to think about a time where you were giving a student feedback to help them maximize on the potential in the class, to help them get a better experience. And you've tried already to give them feedback and encourage them, but they're really showing up delivering minimal requirements of class. But over the course of a few weeks, you've noticed from their assignments that they're quite brilliant and they're very insightful and they have a lot to offer the class. But assignments, only you get to see assignments, right? It's the discussion threads where all of those classmates and peers get to learn from each other. And that's where the student is falling short. And you want to motivate this student to be more active. And I had tried over and over to get this student to dial up some of the discussion group comments. This is not a place that every student finds valuable. But I knew it could be valuable. I felt it could be valuable to her and to her peers. So every time I gave feedback on the discussion group, I'd say something encouraging, even mentioning that you get a better grade when you have more discussion group posts and you have more robust, thoughtful posts. I really didn't see much difference at all. So what do? What else can I do? I think I don't really know what else. I go to ChatGPT and I say, hey, here's the scenario. I want to write some feedback to a student. I spell out that description you see in the blue box at the top. And it gives me back this email. Now, this is interesting because I wasn't thinking of sending an email. I was going to write feedback based on the discussion group. And I thought, well, maybe an email will stand out more, be more personal. Maybe she'll see that as a personal connection where I definitely saw something in her that might benefit her and her other students in the class, her classmates. But I read this and I think it's good, but I want to challenge her more. It's kind of doing a lot of the same things I've already said in my feedback in the gradebook. So I was looking for a little something different. So you'll see here that I go back with another prompt and I ask Copilot, well, can we challenge the student more? And I get back a slightly different email where the Copilot AI is saying, hey, what if I challenge you to make at least this many meaningful posts? And as a result, this will allow this to happen. And I like that. I definitely like that. it wasn't exactly what I ended up sending to the student. I'll show you a little bit along the lines of the drafting that I did, but it gave me a bit of a template of things that I was thinking about to help me write that email, which again, I wasn't even thinking of writing an email. I was going to write feedback in the gradebook response. So you'll see here, I start going to work on this. I want it to sound like me. That opening is not, I wouldn't say I commend you. It wasn't language I would start with. So I changed the wording a little bit. That would sound more like me. I rewrite that last sentence in the first paragraph to also sound more like me. And it's not that I don't say those words, I just change it around a little bit. I take out challenge and I say invite you to make at least 3 meaningful posts. I even change that last 2 paragraphs to really talk about the value she can add, that other people need her brilliance, that she is shortchanging her peers by not sharing, and that I think there is some reciprocal value she will get from others if she lets herself fully get absorbed in those discussions. And then I send this to her. So you see, we don't trust AI. It's rare, if ever, that you will just take something that you got from your chatbot and use it. You'll customize it, you'll draft it out, you'll play around with it to make it really more your own. Even that list of the reading list I got back, I still checked it. I want to make sure, are they really all subscription free? Because you don't always get accurate information back. We know that. It's technology. So where I see lots of value, these are real life scenarios that I have used these chatbots for, and I've seen them as very valuable. There is still this element of having to test it. But despite all of that, I still feel like I'm saving time and I'm adding value. And I do think it's worth it. So I definitely encourage you to think about your prompting. What are you putting in there? Everyone's familiar with the 80-20 principle, right? So 80% of what you get back is based on the 20% of what's out there, the 20% of effort that you put in. Well, the same could be true sometimes for your searches. Sometimes you can even flat out ask the chatbot that you're using, I only need the top 20% of resources on this. Maybe you don't need all of them. And sometimes the chatbot just, it's trying to do the job for you. It might give you back everything. So play around, get creative, have some fun with it, use some theory, see where it can deliver for you. I will close out the I of AIM with a prop, Teaching with AI. This is the book where you see these 2 quotes come from, and my boss in my day job recommended this, actually gave it to me as a gift, and it has been really very insightful. I've used a lot of what I've learned in here, so if you are looking for a resource, you could check it out, but I'll leave these 2 quotes with us. So AI is a tool that can elevate the creativity and productivity of everyone, highlighting its capacity to enhance human capabilities. AI has the capability to increase our ability to have relationships with students by taking away some of the other kinds of tedious things. That's what we're in the business of doing, right? So we want to enhance human capabilities, but if we can remove some of the tedious things, wouldn't that be amazing? On to the last letter in our acronym. We have made it to the M of AIM, and we're going to now be looking at checking in on our use of AI to make sure it's motivating the outcomes that we are looking for, and then adding an element of measurement. I know, another quote. I'm kicking off the M and AIM with a quote from Sundar Pichai. He is the CEO of Google and Alphabet, and I start here because once again, we're seeing a quote that's talking about accelerating human progress and improving lives. And I think if we, for our own personal litmus test, make sure that we use the tool for good and that we use it responsibly and ethically and maturely, that we can see amazing value. I liken the use of AI in general to our use of social media. And I have 3 children, and they're in their teens and early 20s, and I'm often talking to them about using social media responsibly. It can be an amazing tool, connecting us, sharing knowledge, educating us. But it can also be a dangerous tool if we overuse it or if we don't use it responsibly. And I think as we try to be future forward with our teachings, this is the world that our students are living in, and we want to prepare them for everything they have at their fingertips and give them as much information about not just what's there, but how to use it responsibly. Which means we have to do the same exact thing and make sure that the investment that we're making in time and effort with our AI assistant is delivering that motivating response we're looking for. Are we seeing increased engagement? Are we seeing that customized content? Are we using it for more personalized learning paths? You know, if you're looking at this list and you're thinking, oh, wait, I want those things, but I've used AI, but not for those things. Are you using AI for the right things in the classroom? We have to assess that as well, because you want to be spending the time getting the return on investment that's going to create this experience for your students and for you as the person that has to deliver the experience. So if you're not seeing that, you may need to go back to what you're using it for and make a couple of tweaks. I know the individual measurement can be challenging. It's really hard to feel that you have this quantitative measurement. You really might not, but you can tell if you're spending less time. You can see if you're getting more responses from students, that engagement is better, the discussion groups are more robust. Do the comparison from before you were using AI to after and see where you notice the impact and the improvement. You want to do this so that you can have healthy conversations about this. If I was to share my self measurements, I would say I have absolutely seen a difference. And I still have work to do. I'm not seeing a difference across all of these, but I am definitely seeing a difference across some of them. I definitely feel more prepared. I definitely feel really satisfied with the investment I'm making in the experience that I'm trying to deliver to students. I definitely feel like engagement levels are better. I definitely like some of the results I get when I do some of the more creative switching up of exercises that's more customized. I feel like my students appreciate it and they tell me so in many cases. So that's the type of assessment that you'll have to do to make sure that you're getting out that return for that investment of time that you're putting in and that you're investing the time in the right activities. As I mentioned when we kicked off, this is a topic, it's an endless topic. We could talk about it forever, but we are nearing the end of our time. So I didn't give you a full list of resources and references because you know how to do that now. But I did give you some of my favorites and some that I thought might be helpful as you are comparing tools, even personally. So these are a couple to get you started for inspiration, but you know where to find the rest of your resources so that you can continue on your journey of harnessing AI, not just for the enhanced student experience, but maybe for some enhanced experiences in other areas of your life as well. Thank you for taking the time to join in this session, for being curious and being open. If you want to continue any conversations with me, you can find me on LinkedIn. And you'll also find that I try to post some tips and updates on communication skills in the workplace, and they could be valuable for you as well. Thank you, everyone.